Dr. Khurshid, Scientific Officer at National Agriculture Research Center, who will be sharing his expertise on agricultural challenges on oilseed crops with a focus on soybean and sunflower. These crops are essential to many farming systems, and understanding the challenges they face will help us leverage new technologies for better crop management. Dr. Khurshid is a plant geneticist and biotechnology professional working at Pakistan's Apex National Agriculture Research Center, Islamabad. His work is focused on crop genetic diversity, genomics, stress physiology, and climate resilient agriculture. Currently, he is working on evaluation of local and exotic germplasm of soybean under diverse ecologies for developing climate-smart, biotic, and abiotic stress-resistant varieties. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Khurshid to the stage.
Good morning, dear faculty members, distinguished guests, students and researchers. I have been enough introduced, so I don't need any introduction. I am grateful to Dr. Mozam and Dr. Zubair for giving me this opportunity to interact with you and give you a little bit of sneak peek about agricultural challenges in oilseed crops. Although my domain is plant biotechnology and plant breeding, and my niche area is oilseed crops, but I would like to give you some options where both you guys and we can join hands and solve some big challenges, particularly we are facing in oilseed sectors. So unlike popular belief, edible oil is not that much dangerous thing to the health. A source of edible oil is very important for our body metabolic functioning, particularly its energy requirement. We need oil fats for our growth, and this is necessary for the basic functioning of the body, like our brain and nervous system and our endocrine environment. As per the World Health Organization, 20 to 35% of our caloric intake should come from edible oil or fats. They are commonly used in industrial food processing as well as in our home cooking. Particularly in the South Asia, we are using more than the recommended intake. These are the major oilseed crops whose seed has edible oil. I have listed the 6. Although we have olive oils, we have some other oil like palm oil, but these are the oil seeds. So we are just focusing on the oil seeds, not the oil crops. So most important is canola, followed by sunflower, soybean, and then peanut, linseed, and sesame as well. In Pakistani context, I must say that Pakistan is producing edible oil seeds, but the area and production is very low. So they are hardly fulfilling our local requirement. Only 16% of our needs are met by this domestic production. We are producing rapeseed, sunflower, while the soybean and sesame is not that enough to be listed on the major production commodities. Interestingly, Pakistani food habits prefer a bit of fried things. So our per capita ghee consumption, oil consumption is very high. It's almost 24 kg. Every person on average consume 24 kg of edible oil or ghee in a year. During 2023 and 2024, Pakistan imported approximately 2.371 million metric tons of edible oil, which has costed a significant to the national exchequer, that is 2.2 billion US dollar. For a country particularly like Pakistan, as we are getting aid from international monetary funds like $1 billion US dollar, so $2.2 billion is very huge sum. You can guess its magnitude that this is the second biggest import after petroleum products. We have 6.9 million acres of oilseed cultivation, but we are getting only 0.47 million metric tons, and that too from 2.7 million tons of seed. So our production is very low and our demand is very high. Overall, when we talk about oilseed production from crops, so we can see that major share is from a non-conventional oilseed crop, which is cotton. Interestingly, cotton seed also has oil. Although cotton is grown for its fiber, but its byproduct is oil, and it is contributing a huge sum, that is 54%, in the form of banola, as you may have heard. This is followed by rapeseed and mustard, which contributes 32% to our edible oil local production. Among major crops, I will today focus on sunflower and soybean. Soybean is my own crop, so most of the technologies we have used are working on is a soybean crop. But to give you a little bit of information about sunflower, it is the third most important oilseed crop after cotton, the non-conventional oilseed, rapeseed and mustard. So it is the third number. It contributes almost 11% to our local oilseed production. Its seed contains 40% of oil, and it is rich source of different vitamins. Its oil is considered very healthy for the herd because it has a great quantity of unsaturated fatty acids. Now come to the soybean. Soybean is world leading oilseed crops in terms of area. It is also known as miracle crop or golden bean. Its seed is a good source of protein. Interestingly, it's higher in protein, not in oil. So it contains almost 40% protein, and it also has a good chunk of vitamins and different other nutrients. This is a legume crop, and legume crops usually add to the fertility of the soil in the form of biological nitrogen fixation. Globally, in 2022-23, its overall production was estimated at 383 million metric tons, and nearly 45% of all the soybean which is produced elsewhere in the countries are exported to other countries. China is world leading importer of the soybean due to its huge feed industry, and it around about imports 100 million metric tons of the soybean annually. The overall soybean sector has a total retail market value of $150 billion, including its byproducts. This is the picture of global soybean production for 2022-2023. Brazil and US, they are somehow close to each other. They compete with each other. A few years ago, it was USA as the largest producer, but for the last 2 or 3 years, Brazil has surpassed US. Argentina is a distant third, but you can see that Pakistan is nowhere, even in the top 5 or 4. So, if Pakistan is, soybean is that much important that Pakistan has to import it almost 2.5 million metric tons in 2020 and 2021, which has cost 1.2 to 1.6 billion US. And according to the projection, Pakistan is going to import 2.8 million metric tons in 2030. So we are seeing that the demand is rising. Pakistan need more soybean to import. Here you can see the last 3 years data. In 2022, we have seen some slump in the import, but that is because of the COVID. As per the recent data, it has already crossed 2.3 million metric tons. Traditionally, when oilseed are imported into Pakistan, they are first received by the solvent extractors. They extract the edible oil from it, and they give the meal or cake of the seed to the feed industry, particularly the poultry feed industry. The oil is then refined in the factory and then made available to the retails and then available to the consumer. Now the question is, where is soybean? Why Pakistan need that much soybean, and why we need this? Is this because of our edible oil? No. This is coming to Pakistan due to its high protein content and its utilization in the feed industry. because Pakistan has seen a phenomenal growth in our poultry sector, and that is mainly because of the cheaper source of meat. So Pakistan is importing a lot of soya bean to feed the chicken because it constitutes 28% of the feed as a rich source of the protein and the cheapest one. But overall, Pakistan need an indigenous production system of oilseeds. This production is very important because it will solve our oil and feed industry problem. We can save more than $3 billion US, and we can reduce our dependency on Malaysian or Indonesian unhealthy palm oil. And through this, our farmer can also diversify their income. Additionally, a crop like soybean can also help in increase the soil fertility because it's a leguminous crop. It can do biological nitrogen fixation. Besides, due to its being an enriched source of minerals, vitamins, and carbohydrates, additional to oilseeds and protein, oil and protein, it can solve Pakistan's malnourishment problem, particularly in marginal areas like Gilgit-Baltistan, AJK, or erstwhile federally administered tribal areas, because these areas are very suitable for soybean production. Besides, entire world is using soybean for its byproducts like soy milk, tofu, natto, which is very nutritious. So Pakistan can also build its byproducts industry, which will help economically. When coming towards the problem of oilseeds local production in Pakistan, we can broadly divide these problems into three different categories. Before coming to research which belongs to my area, I would rather start from the policy side, which is mainly related to the government. Our government is giving low priority to the oilseed crops. Our government is not promoting farmers to grow or cultivate oilseed crops. Government, as in the case of feed, although there too was lifted, but in the case of feed, government is offering a support price. But in the case of oilseed, government is not offering any support price to the farmer. So there is technically no incentive for farmer why they should grow oilseed. Similarly, government is not giving any subsidy on the inputs for example, fertilizer or insecticides, weedicides, and herbicides. So there is no subsidy from the government side. Also, government is not discouraging the imports. There is virtually very low import duty on import of edible oils. So there is no incentive for the feed industry or the oil industry to promote local production. Similarly, government is not giving enough money, as every researcher has this problem, that government is not giving us sufficient funds to do research in the area of oilseed crops. Then coming to the industrial side, we have a marketability issue. Farmer can grow the edible oilseed crops, but he will have very huge problem. He has no place to sell it. Because the industry does not prefer local procurement, because it will be in very small quantity. The huge industry of solvent extractors and poultry feeds, they prefer huge quantity, and the huge quantity is only available from external sources. Besides, our farmers traditionally is very well versed with traditional crops like wheat, or sugarcane, or rice. So they are kind of having some fear to go towards new crop, particularly crop like soybean. Similarly, the industry is not investing in storage capacity. It is not investing in its transportation mechanism to make the farm to industry very access. So as the accessibility to the farmer is very low, they cannot reach out to the end user, which is industry. So they have no incentive to crop oilseed crops. Then coming towards our area, which is research side. Number one issue is availability of a quality seed. We don't have high yielding oilseed crop varieties. Our national yield is very huge, very huge gap as compared to the yield Americans are getting from oilseed. The Europeans are getting, we have almost 60 to 70% of the yield gap with these countries. Besides, our varieties are not very zone specific. Pakistan has 10 agroecological zones, so we have to develop varieties for different zones. But currently we have a few varieties in different oilseed crops. So not necessarily one variety which is performing better in Pothohar or in Islamabad region can perform better in Balochistan or Sindh or Gilgit-Baltistan. So we need zone specific maturity groups, and we have a huge number of varieties. If we have a huge number of varieties, we will have very diversified production system. Similarly, the available varieties, they are very prone to diseases. They have they don't have biotic and abiotic stress resistance. In biotic stresses, we means that diseases which are caused by viruses, bacteria and fungi, and in abiotic stresses we are talking about the environmental issues our varieties are having. For example, drought or flooding or heat or cold stress. In addition to that, we have lack of mechanization. So right now our farmers, particularly oilseed farmers in the marginal areas, they don't have access to quality machinery, right from land preparation up to the harvesting, threshing and processing. So taking up the challenge as a plant breeder, I just want to focus on the breeding aspect. We have huge problem in our research area. For example, we have to deal with a huge set of genotypes, germplasm, and we have to plant our experimental trials on a very large area, and then we go for an unending selection process, because we have to select a qualitatively very vigorous, high yielding, disease resistant and other abiotic stress resistant plants. But that process is totally based on our visual observation. We just go to the field and observe a phenotype, and if we find something very interesting, we just note data about that thing, and then at the end of the day we would tag it and we would collect it. Here there is a big chance of human error, because this selection process is totally dependent upon our naked eye, which may be misleading or can deceive us sometimes. Besides, traits like yield or disease resistance are very genetically complex traits. So you cannot observe it just by visual observation or phenotype. So this selection can go wrong. Additionally, this is going to be very resource dependent and very time consuming effort. You have to visit the field on daily basis. There may be some rainy days, there you may have some heat waves in your field area. So this is in conventional breeding, things are very difficult to do in the field. Here you can see that we are taking our data manually in the field by visiting each and every plot and single plant and observe it phenotypically. So this may take a huge toll on your time, your resources and your energy. So where is the way forward? I think this is where you people should step in to help us, because we have seen in the recent past that people have developed predictive modeling, particularly like genomic selection or genomic prediction techniques, where a huge set of genomic data is regressed against the field ground truth based data or yield parameters or other parameters, and they have developed these models where you just can give a genomic data and they can predict the traits from that data. We can also utilize the image based high throughput phenotyping using different deep learning models for disease selection, selection against disease stress, or for different environmental stresses like drought, salinity, or flooding, or cold stresses. Similarly, we now have access to a very big data. So we as agriculturists can collect data in the field in the form of phenotype, but we can also deploy some sensors like Internet of Things or multispectral or hyperspectral sensors. We can deploy robotics in our field, and we can harness the power of remote sensing from satellites. Similarly, we can integrate different type of omics that is more related to biologists, where we can integrate data from transcriptomics, genomics, metabolomics, phenomics, and then we can make some informed decision about the selection process. Similarly, as we have access to different type of climate data, So we can run models, we can develop climate models where we can predict the production or cultivation of particular oilseed varieties in a relatively new environment of which we don't have direct physical access. But if we have the environmental data from that area, we can predict the performance of our cultivar. What we are doing at NARC, we are screening a huge set of germplasm of different oilseed crops, particularly soybean and sunflower. We are importing these genetic resources from different countries like United States, China, and Korea, and then we are evaluating them in the field. We have developed different varieties and different oilseed crops targeting different traits. In 2021, we released a soybean cultivar, which is not soy 2021, which is very short duration variety, which can mature in 90 days. That was a problem in the Potohar that here the farmer insisted that they would not give up wheat crop. So in that case, if we have long duration soybean varieties, when we grow it in July, you cannot have empty field for wheat in the November, but this variety can mature way before you start preparation of land for wheat crop. So this variety is very popular in Potohar. It is only 90 days. And then we have an erect type golden soy variety, which is heat tolerant, and it is very adaptive to lower Pakistan area, particularly Sindh and South Punjab, and it can cope up with high heat stress. We are also going for crossing, breeding through conventional means to develop varieties which has higher yield and resistance to different diseases like soybean mosaic virus and also some stresses like drought and heat. We are also focusing on the hidden half of the plant which remains unexplored, that is root, because root is very important plant component which comes in direct contact with the environment. It provides nutrients to the plant, it provides water to the plant, and we need particular type of roots which has that particular traits which can cope up with different environmental conditions like drought and salinity. So we are using image-based processing of algorithms to take images of different roots and then assign that which genotype should perform better in drastic environment. We are also using deep learning and machine learning based models to detect diseases in soybean, particularly soybean mosaic virus, yellow mosaic virus, and bean pod mottled virus. We are developing and labeling some image data sets for plant different parts. On the left side you can see the stem, and then you can see the pollen, and then you can see the seed. We can generate huge data sets for deep learning models, and we can classify them so that the model can predict their diseases, their classes, and their qualitative traits. And thanks to Dr. Muzam and Dr. Zuhair, we have been in collaboration with SEECS for UAV-based multispectral imaging and high throughput phenotyping of both soybean crop and sunflower, and their students are working very hard, and hopefully we will have some publications in the future as well. So this is our one of collaboration area. Last year we also deployed some LoRaWAN, long-range wide area network powered Internet of Things sensors, and they were directly connected to the cloud, and we would collect different environmental variable data of our field, and then we will regress this data in different phenological stages of our crop to determine which particular variable has a role in determining our yield and different physiological processes. We are also using molecular biology techniques like marker-assisted selection to detect particular plant phenotype from DNA and DNA-related markers. We have a robust and long, very large area for fully mechanized soybean production system, spanning around 300 acres. As a government organization, we also deal with different stakeholders to increase awareness about oilseed crops and its production and cultivation. Thank you.
with your permission, sir.
जी
I would like to ask about the cotton field because I am using UAV-based deep learning model to detect disease in cotton, and somehow it is also related to soybean in oil production. So, I mean, I want to see whether your NARC is going through in that area because recently I had an article which stated that the cotton production has drastically decreased around 65% as compared to the previous year. This trend is continuing. I mean, the cotton production is on continuous decline. And I have seen physically because previous month I had been to my area and I collected the data with the time to time, and I have seen that. Is your government and your NARC institute doing something related to that, and it can, I mean, in some way can help me to cope up this challenge, and another way to help me in the research?
Yeah, actually it's very interesting story for cotton. Pakistani cotton has lost its territory to sugarcane, that particularly in South Punjab area. There are a lot of reasons for why cotton vanished from our fields. Most important is its seed was not very of high quality. It was there were some drastic diseases, particularly viral diseases in cotton. Our breeders were not capable enough to cope up with these biotic challenges, and then the farmer has to spray a lot of insecticides on these crops. Although Pakistan introduced BT cotton a few years ago, but that too was ineffective strategy. So it was very costly, it was very disease prone, and then add up the situation of the low energy. So the power looms shut down. So that was the main reason that cotton farmers stumbled upon, and they just stopped cultivating cotton. These are one of the major reasons. As far as NARC is concerned, this task was once given to our umbrella organization, that is Pakistan Agriculture Research Council. But then as a policy, government decided that PRC would not work on cotton. So they have a CCRI, Central Cotton Research Committee, its headquarters is in Multan. Because it's a fiber crop, so we are only dealing in food and feed crops. CCRI Multan is the main custodian. As far as varietal development is concerned, I think NIBG and NAYAB, they are two best organizations in country who are working on cotton crops and developing different varieties. So NARC right now is just on the fence.
Thank you.
So how is the principal process from the political side? What you are allowed to grow? Or is it more or less an idea that you have to feed the people? Or is it more triggered by money what you make with your products? And of course the second part is now more relevant. Where do you grow what? Because we have nuts, for example, we have dry regions, and maybe specific plants can survive in better ways than others. Is there a plan in Pakistan for all these parameters?
Doctor, you have actually identified the main problem. Yes, I although did not mention that problem here in Pakistan, we have no zonal regulations for crops cultivation in Pakistan, and our government so far has no policy over it. That is mainly because as Pakistan is the Spain constitutional constituent are 4 provinces. So we have recently, almost 10 years ago, we have this legislation according to which our provinces are independent in deciding whatever crops they want to grow. So the federal government has very less power to ask them to grow particular crops. So although last year we have presented a policy, national oilseed policy to the federal government, and it has been approved by the federal cabinet, but although still the legislation has not been promulgated on provinces, but we have recommended that there should be specific zones for oilseed crops. Same is the case with our pulses crops. Pakistan is also importing a very huge chunk of pulse crops. So as an agriculture country, it's somehow a very awkward situation for Pakistan that we are overall a net food importing country. Yeah, although there are particular regions which are very suitable for cultivation of oilseed crops, and they can solve the problem. But we have let our farmers decide their own at their own well, whatever they want to grow. So that's why we have very abundance of sugarcane crop, which is producing 60% above our local requirement. And what can I say? I think as a Pakistani, it will be very embarrassing situation for me to tell you the whole truth. Yeah, so we have these powerful people, they don't want to take such kind of trusted decisions.
Another question, it would be another suggestion that can NARC develop a mechanism which would rather focus on latest technology, as Dr. Khan mentioned that the smart farming 4.0, where all the latest trend and all the IoT based and deep learning or artificial intelligence based mechanism should be developed, tested and deployed in the field rather than that conventional paperworking and the conventional method that have failed multiple times. Can it be possible?
Yes. Our organization is working on this area. Precision agriculture is one of the niche area of our organization, and particularly our leadership right now is focusing on. We have MOUs with different countries, with European Union countries, with US Department of Agriculture, with COPIA, the Korean aid agency, and the Chinese, and we are working on developing large scale fully autonomous type of field, and we are right now in demonstration process. So even as you may have known that National Aerospace Science and Technology Park, they have a big project on application of artificial intelligence in agriculture. So we are also collaborating with them personally. I am from NRC side, I am working as a focal person. So they are going to demonstrate a John Deere tractor, which is GPS powered, fully guided, and fully autonomous, and they are going to demonstrate cultivating wheat in this season. Maybe in the next 1 or 2 weeks they are going to demonstrate this. Besides, we have dedicated Farm Machinery Institute, Agriculture Biological Engineering Institute, ABEI. So they are working on such type of machineries. Recently we have imported, rather China has gifted us 50 semi-autonomous tractors. So we are working in this area, but right now things are in very early stage. We cannot give detail.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, could you explain me the difference between germplasm screening and marker-assisted selection?
Yeah. When I talked about germplasm screening, I was focusing on field evaluation. That is totally on the basis of visual observation. We go to the field, we record data on plant phenotype, what we observe, for example, its plant height, its leaf shape, its flower color, whether it is affected by a disease, what is the severity level of disease. We call this germplasm screening. So this is totally field-based activity. When we talked about marker-assisted selection, that is something which we do in the lab. We through molecular biology techniques, we isolate DNA from these germplasm. Could be 100 lines, could be 200 lines, and then we use particular markers, DNA markers, which are associated with any quality or any trait or any parameter. For example, the marker could be linked to soybean mosaic virus resistance, it could be linked to high oil content, and then I will deploy these markers, and if it gives some bands or pair up, that is a molecular biology techniques, so we can molecularly confirm that this particular genotype or this particular variety has this quality. Before even we validate it into the field, we can confirm it molecular. So molecular marker techniques are used in the labs, while germplasm screening is conducted in the field.
But sir, when those markers that you are using, they already exist so that you can find them if they are in the plant. But when something does not exist, how do you proceed?
For that we have to go for other techniques like genome sequencing. Then we have to develop our markers ourselves.